Hello and good morning. I'd like to thank everybody for listening. I always call them everybody who listens each week knows I use the word special. I have a special show planned today, and the show is Sarah Palin's Arizona, and we are exploring the idea of any connection to Sarah Palin and the incident that happened on January 8th in Tucson, Arizona. And I have two guests, and Dr. Michael Nusatelli. He's a forensic consultant as well as a licensed psychologist. And if you heard the show in December on immigration and military reform, you'll remember Richard Fowler. He's a political activist, and he's on the line now. And I'll ask Dr. Nusatelli to introduce himself first.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And Richard?
Morning. Thanks for having me again.
Oh no, it's gonna. I think it's gonna be a wonderful show. I'll start with that said. Richard, you know, what will this shooting do for or against Sarah Palin's political aspirations? Because people are blaming her.
Well, I don't know if the shooting will really have an impact on Sarah Palin's political aspirations. Her video response, on the other hand, is questionable. I really think that she sort of, I think a lot of members of the Republican Party are very happy that Sarah Palin sort of did this because it puts her on the outside of the party. I think the best reaction in times of tragedy is to sort of be silent or sort of say, you know, my heart's with the victims of this tragedy. And I think what Sarah did, which, I mean, I think if I were her image consultant, I would tell her a little bit differently, is she came out on the defensive for this tragedy. And like the doctor has stated, I mean, this guy had who's mentally ill, so you can't really blame anybody.
And say not another word. Because anything else, if you come out in the defensive, people are going to say, what? Is she really saying this in the time of someone's mourning? So what will these things in the video, like blood libel, which we're going to move to now, what damage has that ultimately caused her with, say, the Jewish population?
Well, I mean, I think the damage first is irreversible, but I think the blood libel comment has caused her a lot of damage in the Jewish community, and more broader than that, I think it's caused her a lot of damage in the right. I mean, if Governor Palin is thinking about running for president of the United States, then she's going to have to find some way to answer all of these sound bites, and these sound bites are going to be damning in swing districts and in swing states across the country that she's going to need to win in. And we saw in the most recent poll that in a matchup between her and President Obama, President Obama almost has a 20-point advantage. And I mean, I hate to bring politics around this Tucson, Arizona tragedy because it is very sad, but I think Sarah Palin, mind you, there's members of the left that have come out and they've said that, you know, Sarah Palin's one that caused this, but Sarah Palin has a bigger platform than most of these individuals. It is not like the president never came out and said it, Nancy Pelosi never came out and said it, nor has Harry. None of the Democratic leadership has made a comment that Sarah Palin is the one that caused the death or the massacre, the tragedy that happened in Tucson. So I think she, knowing that she has a bigger platform, coming out and saying these things, make it seem as though that she's part of the problem, and not necessarily the members of the left that made these comments. And so I think she sort of painted a big target on her back, saying that, you know, I am going to sort of say these things and make comments that almost don't really make any, they're almost illogical, to, you know, to equate something like blood libel, which was used during the Holocaust to persecute our Jewish brothers and sisters, and to use that comment to explain, you know, liberals saying that you were the one that caused the massacre of Gabby Gifford is almost, those things aren't even comparable.
No, can you tell me that either way, people could take it either way? She was pandering to her base, or perhaps she was trying to make a real connection with her own suffering and Representative Gifford's suffering?
Well, I don't know. I don't even know if that argument can be made. I mean, I think you can say could be pandering to her own base, but I'm not sure that her base really, you know, buys into this messaging. I think after she came with that tape, a lot of the Republican frontrunners, the Mitt Romneys, the Mike Huckabees, and the Tim Pawlenzas were very happy, because I don't really think that argument panders to your base. I mean, comparing a massacre, and don't get me wrong, comparing a massacre in Tucson, Arizona to the killing of 6 million Jews I just don't understand it. I'm almost speechless to the fact that you would make that such a comparison. And I really think that at the time, after the tragedy, it should have been it should be more conciliatory time, a time for us to raise the conversation in Washington. And that's what the president so brilliantly did on Wednesday night when he said, we need to raise the conversation here. It's bigger than this. We need to work together as a country. We need to bring civility both in Washington and across America. And Sarah Palin, on the other hand, came out and said, we need more division. We need more, we need to fight against each other more.
Okay, so if you had to help her compose a video, what would you suggest? Because you just kind of said it, but, what would you suggest? How would you, the focus, clearly you just said it, should be on, hey, this is a tragedy. We had a member of, our political establishment, shot, thank God, not fatally. So if you were to help her, what would you tell her to do beyond that you just said?
If I was Sarah Palin's image consultant, I think what I would say is I would definitely paint the thing that Sarah Palin does have going for her that people can't deny is, one, she has a fan base, and on top of having a fan base, Sarah Palin is really good at sort of showing that softer side, that hockey mom side of being Sarah, and that's what made her so popular, and that's what made both of her books be New York bestsellers. So I think what she should have done is played to that side, the softer side of Sarah. My daughter is almost 9 years old. I understand the pain these families are going through. Right now, this time in our nation, it's time for us to come together. It's time for us to end the political bickering in Washington, and let's begin to work together to solve the problems in America, to make America safer, to make America stronger. And you could even use some of her buzzwords to make freedom and liberty reign across our country. Would be something would be words that I would have used. I wouldn't have come out and made myself the victim. I would have definitely been a leader and saying it's time for us to all come together.
Very, very nice. All right. She released this video just hours before President Obama was scheduled to speak at the memorial service that day, honoring the victims. Did she intentionally want to upstage Obama, having the video come out the very same day?
That I can't tell you. I really have no idea if that was her plan or not her plan. I really don't think she upstaged the president at all, because I think the president, everybody was there was more anticipation from what the president was going to say than what Sarah Palin was going to say.
Wow. All right. She was the governor of, I guess, one of the smallest states in terms, not geographic size, but in terms of population in the entire United States. For 2 years, she decided to quit, in midterm, and she ran with John McCain for less than a year. How in the world did she get so much political influence without having a track record,
Well, I think Sarah Palin she's been really good at doing two things. One, Sarah is really good at being likable. She has a very high likability, and on top of having a very high likability, to a lot of Americans, they can relate to Sarah Palin because she's not really above brass. Like, she's not above you. She's really like that down home, I want to take her out to dinner type of girl. She's a very attractive young lady on top of that, and I think that sort of played into her ability to sort of convince people that she would, to convince people that she was, good and right. And on top of it, I think her sound bites were so well put together. And I also, to be perfectly honest, I think the media had a little bit to do with it. The media did such a good job of demonizing her throughout the campaign that people sort of sympathized for her. And the people sympathizing for her made her even more likable. And
this is, a personal question of mine. Is she operating with the notion that she doesn't need to be need to have a real political record to run for public office? Because as you just alluded to and said explicitly, people like her. And I know from doing journalism and PR that like factor plays heavy on people's decision, whether it's a business transaction or political, election. So, because it seems that she can, these ideological talking points, is that enough to win a presidency I mean, because for the rest of us that are, that really study and try to understand, what's happening in politics, you look at people's voting records. You look at how they voted on this and how they voted on that to see if it aligns with what you believe. And, I mean, she doesn't have an extensive record. You got 2 years in Alaska. She was the mayor of, the town in Alaska. So I'm like, is this for real? Is this really happening in America? Because we like you, that you can potentially, because she and I share a lot of, seriously, we share a lot of the same in terms of career choices, in terms of family, in terms of, beliefs, Christian beliefs. We share a lot in common, but I don't, presidency, I'm like, well, wait a minute. I speak well, I think. So elect me. But, do you have to have a real record anymore, Richard, to be voted president, or do people really have to like you? What's going on in America?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think the proof is still out. I mean, we haven't seen Sarah Palin officially run for president, so I think with that, it's sort of hard to say at this point in time what that will look like. But what I would say is that I think, going into this election, one thing that Sarah Palin has is she has the ability to become headline news very quickly, and she has a really good name ID, higher than a lot of other Republican candidates running for office. So that high name ID and the ability to be on the top of headlines makes her a valiant threat. I mean, whether we like it or not, it makes her a threat. I think, was she on the campaign trail? Will she put her foot in her mouth? Her foot in her mouth? Of course she will. I think she'll put her foot in her mouth a lot, and that could cause her that's going to increase her negatives. I also think what she would do for the Democrats is that she would rally the base of Democrats that didn't turn out in this November election. They'll turn out in 2012 if Sarah Palin's on the ticket, because they definitely don't want Sarah Palin. And I think rallying the Democratic base is what you need. Usually, in most elections, more people are Democrats than Republicans. It's just a lot of Democrats don't turn out to elections. But with Sarah Palin at the top of the ticket, is there a question whether or not Democrats will turn out? I think not. I think the president wins overwhelmingly. I think going into this, I do think that Sarah Palin, there's a lot of image issues that Sarah Palin needs to sort of tweak to make her, more viable. And whether or not her team will tweak that, only time can tell.
Well, I mean, let for you, my question for you, is Sarah Palin a better cheerleader or quarterback? Is she someone that a quarterback likening to a president, or a cheerleader in terms of rallying her base? Do people really, she sees herself as a quarterback, and some people see her as a quarterback, or is she better just, come on, let's be the cheerleader? So what do you think?
I personally think that Sarah Palin is better as a cheerleader for the Republican Party. Sarah Palin is better on the throwing offense, playing offense for the Republican Party, throwing out the red meat, and saying the things that Sarah Palin could say that would make the top of the headlines. But the caveat to that is that if Sarah Palin does not run for president in 2012, she's not at the top of the headlines anymore. The whole reason why Sarah Palin's at the top of the headlines is because everybody thinks that there's a possibility that Sarah Palin can run for re-election. When she decides not to run, she loses all that media sensation that she currently has, unless she finds a new role for herself that allows her to capture some of that media sensation.
And that's our show for today. Is this Sarah Palin's Arizona? Is this the Republican Party's Arizona? Is this the Tea Party's Arizona? Who's to blame? And as I said, I will not point a finger at it, because it's too complicated, especially with Mr. Loeffner being, his mental condition and stability. We'll all just watch the news and continue to, see how this all plays out. And I thank you, too, for joining us this morning. And everybody, listen next Saturday at 10 a.m. when we will talk about how you can attract money with your mind. And we'll have someone on who says that the reason that you don't have money is because you don't know how to attract money. So listen again next week, and thanks, everyone, for listening.